Mary had asked countless questions in her years on the force, but the night she looked across the quiet interview room and softly asked, "You're not married, right?" She didn't expect her own heart to tremble at the answer. The fluorescent lights hummed above them, casting pale shadows across James's tired face. He sat her day straight, hands folded, a man trying to look stronger than he felt. There was something steady about him, something gentle that didn't match the late-night complaint filed by a worried neighbor. Outside, rain tapped against the windows like impatient fingers. Inside, silence lingered between them. James glanced briefly at the tiny purple bracelet wrapped around his wrist before answering. "No," he said quietly. "I'm not." Mary lowered her pen, sensing the weight behind the word. "My wife passed away 4 years ago," he added, his voice calm but fragile around the edges. And just like that, the room felt smaller. The report in front of her suddenly seemed irrelevant. The call had been about shouting about possible domestic trouble, but there had been no fight. Only a father sitting on his daughter's bedroom floor at 2 in the morning, holding her shaking hands while she cried from another nightmare. "Lisa still thinks if she stays awake long enough," James explained, eyes fixed on the table, "she won't dream about losing her mom again." The vulnerability in his voice struck Mary harder than she expected. She had trained herself to remain composed, detached, unshaken, but heartbreak recognizes heartbreak. Years earlier, Mary had stood in a hospital corridor, staring at a doctor's apologetic expression. After a car accident took the man she was supposed to marry, she had buried herself in her career after that. Promotions, long shifts, discipline, love became something distant, something unsafe. Yet here Saturday James, unknowingly reopening wounds she thought had healed, as he spoke about Lisa, how she refused to remove her mother's photo from her bedside, how she asked if angels could send letters. Mary saw not weakness but courage. This wasn't a reckless man. This was a devoted father surviving grief in quiet, unseen ways. The questioning turned into conversation. James apologized for taking up her time, even though he had done nothing wrong. Mary surprised herself by saying it wasn't wasted time at all. When the paperwork was finished, she hesitated before standing. "Does Lisa like hot chocolate?" she asked suddenly. James blinked, confused. "She loves it." Mary nodded toward the cafe across the street that stayed open late. "You should take her. They make the best in the city." It was a small suggestion, but the next evening, she found herself walking past that same cafe and seeing James inside, laughing softly as Lisa tried to balance whipped cream on her nose. Their eyes met through the glass. Something unspoken passed between them. Over the following weeks, coincidence turned into intention. A thank you coffee became dinner. Dinner became long walks, where grief slowly unfolded into shared understanding. James spoke about his wife with respect and love, not guilt. Mary admitted she still kept her old engagement ring in a drawer she never opened. They weren't trying to replace what they had lost. They were learning how to carry it differently. Lisa warmed to Mary with cautious sweetness, slipping her tiny hand into hers one afternoon as if testing whether she would stay. But love after loss is never simple. The first time James reached for Mary's hand in public, she hesitated. Fear tightened around her chest. What if history repeated itself? What if loving him meant losing him? She gently pulled away, and the flicker of hurt in his eyes nearly broke her. "I can't survive another goodbye," she confessed later, voice trembling. James didn't argue. He didn't pressure. He simply stepped closer and said, "Loving someone doesn't guarantee forever. It guarantees that right now means something." That honesty shattered the walls she had built. For the first time in years, Mary allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't shaped by fear. She allowed herself to love not despite the risk but because life without it felt emptier. Just when their fragile happiness began to feel steady, life tested them again. Mary was offered a major promotion only that required relocating across the country. It was everything she had worked toward: recognition, authority, achievement. Accepting meant security, declining meant uncertainty. The night she told James, he listened quietly, pride and heartbreak battling in his eyes. "You deserve it," he said, even though the words cost him. Lisa tried to be brave, hugging Mary tightly and whispering, "Will you still come to my school play?" The question echoed in Mary's mind long after she returned home. She stood in her apartment surrounded by half-packed boxes, staring at a future that suddenly felt hollow. Success without them felt colder than loneliness ever had. The next evening, instead of heading to the airport for a training seminar tied to her promotion, Mary found herself sitting in the back row of Lisa's school auditorium. James was in the front, unaware she had come. When he finally turned and saw her, confusion crossed his face. After the performance, as Lisa ran into her father's arms, Mary stepped forward, I turned it down, she said softly. James stared at her. Why? Because she finally understood that love wasn't a distraction from her strength, it was proof of it. Because I don't want a bigger title, she whispered. I want a life that feels full. Tears welled in James's eyes as he pulled her into an embrace that carried relief, gratitude, and something deeper than either of them could put into words. Lisa wrapped her arms around both of them, laughing as if she knew this was the moment everything changed. In choosing love, Mary wasn't erasing her past. She was honoring it by refusing to let fear decide her future. The question she once asked out of routine, "You're not married, right?" had unknowingly led her back to hope. And James's quiet, honest reply didn't just answer her inquiry, it changed her life.